Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Fields, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
Arendis.
Hey, everybody.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
Hello there. Let us head into the news this week, and we had a pair of updates. First, we had a dot update, and then a little bit of a hot fix to take care of something broken in the dot update.
It was a dot update, and then it was a dot update.
Yeah, dot update.
So many updates.
So many updates, yes. And this week...
Because it's more than just the hot fix if it gets a whole page of release notes.
Well, I suppose you got a point with that. There were quite a lot of release notes on the matter.
Yeah.
But first, let's go into patch 01, where they were doing some tweaking with the Guardian and the Hunters. And Sans, did you have a chance to play the Hunter since then?
Wait, which day was that?
That was a patch that was on...
Was that the first patch or the second patch?
Yeah, I'm talking about the first patch.
Okay, just making sure.
Patch. Yes.
Yes, because I was on my Hunter when we were playing on Thursday night.
Right, and did you notice anything better or worse as a result of it?
No, but I was mostly focused on not falling into any holes. I actually don't play the lines. I wasn't playing either of the lines that would possibly be affected by that. And I've traded pretty deep into the red tree, but I did not take anything that would help me to keep focus while moving, because I'm running blue line, so I keep focus while moving by default.
You got a point there. So why take it a second time? Especially now that...
Right, especially now that it wouldn't work. Like, yeah. It might cancel out my keeping it or something. I don't want to mess with that possibility.
You got a point there. And there are also several things affecting the Guardian. And anyone here play a Guard? I don't think any of us play a Guardian on a regular basis.
Not enough to confidently talk about changes, no.
Yeah.
No.
They're not enough to talk about changes. And the Minstrel 4-piece set from Greater Trappings of the Vigilant Watchers now functions properly. And I don't think I remember what that set really is. Which set is that?
Got me.
Yep. I'm sure there... Yeah, so I don't know what that set is, and I don't know if I ever had a Minstrel that had that set. I don't remember these set names. You know, because a lot of those set names have some rather strange names to them. I was like, yeah, all right. If you wish. Then in crafting, Tier 12 farming components have been added to the basic vendor. That's good to hear. And in housing doormats can now be rotated. Why do you want to rotate your doormat, by the way?
I don't know why you would want to rotate a doormat unless you want to make it look like your house is kind of skewed.
Yes.
But I also kind of really don't do decorating, so...
I guess you got a point there. And for things other than doormats, all exterior house decorations allow for a 10-meter offset from the hook's origin.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because they had said that they didn't want to do that to housing items because they were concerned about people winding up with stuff in other people's yard. But, I mean, if it's only a 10-meter offset, you can't really put stuff in your neighbor's yard.
Yes, and I think they have it so that it's harder to move it away or something like that. I haven't experimented with it enough on it, but yeah.
And they did say that you weren't going to be allowed to put it down into the ground or up into the air, so...
Yeah, they also decided, that would be out.
But it follows terrain apparently. So like if your house is on a hill, you can get it to follow the terrain.
All right, that's good.
I watched Dan Dang's video.
And also on the housing decoration panel, they made it so that you do have to press save in order to save the changes in the position and the rotation, and just closing it will now cancel it. I don't know the reason why they decided to do this.
Yeah, that's going to take some getting used to.
Yes, I almost forgot it the first time I was trying because I got a new book this week. I think I finally finished the one in Erebor, so I was adding it to my pile of books in my house. And of course, then finding the place.
Yeah, I saw the option and I was like, "Oh, that's a really handy option." Like I was wishing for this when I was moving everything around in my house, and then I put down some things at the house this week, and I was like, "Wait a second, what do you mean it's gonna cancel?" No, oh yeah, there's this new option.
Then in instances, Grey Mountains instances have had their drops increase significantly for both favored and standard chest openings in Tier 2 difficulty. And some bosses and other significant enemies have had their difficulty increased in new Grey Mountains instances. Actually, it turned out they were increased a little bit more than intended, which goes into the hotfix that we had on later on in the week. And deeds and vendors of Erebor Cluster gear no longer require cap level completion of the instances to complete the deeds. And I'm like, well, I hope not, because they're no longer cap level items.
Level cap went up.
Yeah. It says the minimum level is still 85, however. Whatever that is. And so the Longbeard's cap has been increased from 400 to 500. And they also had to tweak the level advancing jewelry so it was following the new progression rules instead of the old progression rules.
Well, details.
Yeah, always little details like this. Monsters at 116 plus SIG and higher monsters are now getting their appropriate damage bonuses. Base damage as you approach to be 120 has been toned down a bit, so normals will hit. But actually, this goes upon what they were supposed to tone things down a little bit at cap, and no, that did not happen. In fact, it became tougher. And people were getting squashed. Well, except for the people who go in there and manage to squash everything with a frying pan anyway. And then monster damage has been adjusted in the mid-level for better balance. And the monster damage has been increased from level 30 to 114. Actually, it was increased through all levels because they found out later on that it was scaling things a little bit more than they had intended there, which is the reason why they had to have a hotfix later on in the week. And older monster damage progression has been adjusted to fit the modern damage progression. So they are doing a lot of tweaking with damage progression, and hopefully they've got it right finally. We'll have to find that out. Number of dangerous boars in Chetwood had been increased, and the number of Neekers in the Midwater Marsh has been increased. Yet there have been a dearth of them in the Midwater Marshes recently. So I think they used to be easy to find back a couple of years ago, but I think the last time I was in the Midwater, I was like, where are all the Neekers?
Yeah, I noticed that the Neekers were kind of sparse the last time I was out there, too. I haven't been out there recently, but I know they lowered the number of Neekers required to do the deed, but still, everybody goes hunting out there for the Neekers, which is silly because you can just get them south of Bree.
There is that. And for Quest and Adventure areas for Update 23, a new resource instance, Withered Heath, Weathering the Storms, is now available. And new daily Wanted Pebbles quest features at the Weather Resource instances, which offer existing items in addition to the new scrub moss. Why you'd want scrub moss? I'll have to find out when I get a character up to that area.
Can't tell you why you would want scrub moss.
Yes. And for the Harvest Math Festival, the Beautiful Harvest series of quests now awards 1,000 Figments of Splendor each. Now, unfortunately, isn't that the quest that they had to close because there was a bug in it?
Yeah, that's the one that they had to close in the dot update. That's why.
Right.
So we can expect another dot update at least.
Yes.
In the near future.
And they will be tweaking the interval which you could do that particular quest so that people will still be able to finish it in the time of the festival. Anything else in here? A number of Brigade quests have been removed. A tour of Bree meeting the mayor, the trouble with the Southerners, and trouble in Buckland. In other words, a lot of the vector quests have been removed.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that they took out a bunch of the vector quests, but apparently they added a new one.
They added a new one, which was something like no time for tours.
Yeah. Well, not everybody has time to tour all over the Bree,
Yeah.
and everywhere. But the new one apparently still introduces you to the quest hub. So I don't know. I have yet to get a character over there to actually do it. But you know what? I can do that now.
Yes. Now they did find that the reason they decided to do it this way is because of the data they're seeing, and those particular quests seem to hold a very high percentage of either never taken or canceled. So they decided that people didn't have time for tours.
Well, we're busy people. We don't necessarily have time for tours. I would do it occasionally, but it is definitely on the... I am guilty of being one of the people that would take the quest and not finish it or just cancel it or decline it in the first place. Yeah.
And quest item drop rates for various quests in the earlier zones has been adjusted. When defeating monsters during some quests, the drop rates for quest items should now be more forgiving.
Yay!
Yay, for sure. Because I think there are a number of quests where I say, okay, when are we going to get this to drop? When are we going to get this to drop?
And it can drop anytime now.
Yeah, maybe someday before this 3-hour session is over. And the Oathbreakers, the North Downs Fellowship quest, the Oathbreakers has returned to the game. Level 25 quest bestows by Meacham and the North Downs after completing the North Downs quest and Rouse Guardians and Amrun in the Madman's Tale. So that quest is back. I had forgotten that it existed. That's how long it's been since it's been available. And the quest guide now accurately displays the position of Cole Sickleaf during Posco's uncle. At long last. How old is that quest?
Yeah. That's
right.
One of the ones that frustrated my mom because she could never figure out where to go. And I'm looking at the map. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't tell you where to go, does it?
Yeah. I was about to say 11 years, but then I remembered, of course, the quest guide didn't exist when the quest was first added.
That's right. Quest guide came later.
Was it Strider's and Gandalf's customary rooms in the Prancing Pony now have labels?
Do they have signs? Do they have signs on the door now? I mean, they used to just be labeled doors, so I guess maybe they didn't need to label the entrances and exits. But come on, it's not that hard to figure out where you're supposed to go.
I did get lost quite a bit at first, though with a little bit of practice, especially with the stare of that creepy Southerner, I figured it out.
Oh, I know, right?
A label could be helpful, though. I haven't been to see what they did with it.
I'm going to have to check that out. Yes.
Arendis was saying, though.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just agreeing with you. You know, like as a new player, it can be kind of confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's fine.
Good point on there. And
so hopefully this will help with new people getting the hang of it faster.
There you go.
We can only hope. Then, Glimmerdeep bosses should now properly reset, and some cosmetic improvements have been made to the Shire. And the social panel group staging info tab now has a new sub-panel that shows chest lock information. Okay.
I guess if you're running the stuff where you need to know which locks you've got, it's helpful.
I suppose that is reasonable in that matter, and let's see. Switching languages on the game launcher after initially starting an English download no longer restarts a full download after using the repair game data option.
Hooray!
And the launcher newsfeed now fits better inside of its box. Is having trouble?
Yeah, occasionally it would. You had a hard time actually reading the newsfeed.
And there were some known issues, but because we had another patch after that, we'll use the known issues area from 23.1.1, the ... update. And high-level monster damage has been corrected down to its intended range. In fact, it was so bad, that was the thing that gave them the incentive to get this patch out quickly. Because a lot of people were not liking it, except for a few people who are saying the game is too easy.
Yeah, they've been saying all along. And even with the damage up, they were still saying the game was too easy.
Yeah, well, that's because the landscape is intended to be done by people on level, solo, with maybe slightly subpar equipment. Is what they balance it for. And of course, you go in there with top of the line equipment with the full fellowship.
Yeah.
You're going to rip the place to pieces. Signature and higher enemy health bonuses have been reduced, and fell restoration healing has been reduced.
But apparently not by enough.
I think I did see someone complaining about that.
We were creeping. What night were we creeping? I don't know. We were creeping one of the nights this week, and
Thursday night, and it was kind of awesome.
So there was a Defiler saying that they were doing like 1 million morale and heals. They were doing like 3 times their own morale and heals. It was pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And the Freeps were all hiding. And
yeah.
Usually the Freeps have us pinned into our stronghold area, and like you venture out and you are insta dead. But the creeps had turned the tables, and so we had pretty much the whole map to play on, and it was kind of awesome.
Those moments happen so rarely. They are to be cherished when they happen.
Rejoice in the creep's revenge.
I mean, it may have gone away by now because I have not been back on since they patched that. But
yeah, so I don't know
was pretty epic.
Fixed it or not? But yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, I did see a screenshot on that one. That was a little bit high on there. Now, concerning the rooms back on there, I did do a quick check into the Prancing Pony, And fortunately, they did not literally mean signs. They mean that the tooltip you get when you hover over the door.
Oh, that is helpful.
Gives the proper name on it. Because I thought it would have been out of place for an innkeeper to put Striders.
Well, I was thinking, like, maybe if the innkeeper had, they nailed, like, a piece of paper with handwriting on it. That was, like, the best I could think of.
Yeah. And for quests on that, the Caverns of Thumful, Etterfang now resets properly on all difficulty tiers, including the solo duo version of the instance. Wismead summoning is now allowed in Wismead except for the inside of Tango Corn Wheat Mage. You can't summon someone into the middle of a maze. And Orc Messengers will now be easier to find for the Orc Messenger quest in the Lone Lands.
That's awesome. I can't tell you how many times I've been all over the place looking for that stupid messenger.
Well, you have no trouble now.
I wonder if that just means it respawns faster.
No.
No?
No. I think how many messengers did we kill since today?
Oh, there's multiple messengers out there now?
Don't even know how many. Are they at least 5 different ones, I think?
Oh my gosh.
We might have pulled a couple others in a group that I didn't count. Some of them may have been respawns because I'm not sure what their respawn rates are. The one that we actually killed for the quest was like just standing like right at the top of the hill waiting for us. Like we didn't have to look for him at all. It's just like, hey, I hear you're giving out early retirement plans. I want one.
Yeah, I think they might have tweaked it a little bit too much. And apparently, Lobelia's Sackville Baggins was feeling a little transparent because people are having trouble finding her or talking. I'm not too sure what the trouble was. Either she was invisible or people couldn't talk to her or something like that. So therefore, they said Lobelia Sackville Baggins is no longer unexpectedly ghost-like, is how they worded the patch note. And if it weren't for the fact that you do need to speak with her in order to open up the haunted burrow, I said, well, who cares if they can't see Lubila Sackville Baggins?
Well, you also kind of need to talk to her for the epic.
Well, yeah, there is that little detail. And crowd control immunity has been removed from solo Glimmer Deep bosses.
Yay!
I try to remember. The Glimmer Deep are the...
I suspect we haven't done them yet.
Oh, okay. You wouldn't... Yeah,
but when we get there, being able to stun them might be really helpful. Especially if you happen to be on a squishier character, like a burglar or a runekeeper.
Yes, but note the word solo.
Well, I did note the word solo, but at least they're stunnable now.
Okay.
But that seems like it's got to be some sort of a benefit.
Yeah, it probably should be. Especially if you are a class that can get a little bit squishy, that being able to crowd control them will be quite useful. And as for known issues, in the housing in the Cape of Belfalis, the Toll Falthui entry room doesn't properly play music or display wall floor surfaces and color. Hopefully it does display something there that doesn't look too distracting.
I was about to say, does that mean it doesn't display anything at all, or it's just doing it wrong?
It might just do the I'm hoping it just does the default. In which case it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Travel routes. Interacting with stable masters while mounted doesn't allow you to travel for coin. You must dismount to access this option. And travel routes. Some travel routes in the Troll Shells aren't completing as they should. Hopefully they'll fix that one soon. Lore Master traits. Tutelage of the Brown Wizard isn't correctly adding 3 levels to the pets from levels 18 through 20. And based on a message that I saw on the forums, it's possible that this may wind up having to be changed in somehow, and that instead of giving 3 extra levels, they may have to find some other buff to do, because apparently it messes up with the system if they try to buff them above the current level cap.
That doesn't make a lot of sense because it worked for the last level cap.
Yeah, but remember, they just changed the progression grades and stuff like that.
That's true.
So
but they should have changed the progression grades, keeping in mind that they were maybe eventually going to raise the level cap again, so it still doesn't make tons of sense.
We'll have to see what they do. But currently, your lore master pets are not going to be above level 120.
I mean, my lore master's only level 106, so I don't really have anything to worry about at the moment anyway.
Yes. And that they're trying to come up with some sort of solution, which might not be at allowing you to go those 3 extra levels. We'll see what they do. And Epic Book Volume 1, Book 2, Chapter 5, Retaking Weathertop. A boulder currently blocks the path towards the summit of Weathertop, while players are able to jump over the boulder on the left side with some effort, maybe slightly easier to do while mounted.
How does
it wouldn't take any effort if there wasn't that fence there.
Oh, yes, because it's also there on landscape, but because the fence is not there on landscape, you could just go around it without any trouble. And that was a little bit of a problem when we were doing Retaking Weathertop. And in fact, one person
It was the most deadly part of that. There were only 3 of us in the 6-man instance, and that was the only death. It was caused by that rock.
Yeah, but fortunately, I was already on the other side. I had managed to get to the other side, so therefore I rested her on top of the boulder so that she could just jump down and be able to.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so she was able to. So she was now on top of the boulder after I arrested her, so she was able to jump down. But Sans, I think, had her own little challenge getting across.
Yeah, it caused some broken legs. I actually expected that I was about to die when I fell off. I tried to go around the fence because I couldn't get over the rock at first, and I hadn't tried mounting up either because that thought had not occurred to me. And so I was looking at it, and I was like, well, it looks like there's a little bit of an edge on the other side of the fence. I wonder if you can just slide around the fence. The answer is you can try, but you will slide right down the cliff. And it was a pretty long fall, and I was pretty sure I was dead. But it did not kill me. It gave me a really long broken leg. And then I tried following the path again and fell off again. And so then I started all the way back at the beginning of the instance with a really, really, really lengthy broken leg, and was down at the bottom of the instance, limping my way back up with a horse that I had discovered I could mount, who got my transferred broken leg, and was down there when Cinders was defeated by the rock in the road.
Yes, that was some interesting times in the Lone Lands today. Between Messenger and Weathertop. Then let's head to the LOTRO Beacon. We have the LOTRO Beacon issue 82, where apparently there are a couple of people in costume right now. Well, I'm not exactly actually
the bear is one of the people you have to go find.
Right. Yeah, the bear is one of the people you have to go find there for one of the quests. And we fight for food needs. Oh, nope, never mind. That's until today. Second Breakfast is hosting their annual Haunted Harvest Mask event on Cricalo server, October 26th through the 27th. And you could check the beacon for information on that event, and there is actually a link there. And the Breakfast Club's performance from October 13th is now available on a link provided through, YouTube. And want to know what kind of housing items you can get during the Fall Festival? There is a guide put out by DNC de Menu. And Zero Crossy has started a Twitch channel where she will be streaming LOTRO. And this week's Kinhall is Dane or Dine's Hammer. Is an all-dwarf kinship on brandy wine that has been open since 2015. I am Gvenny Thickskull, the sinister, half dour hand on mother's side, and stepbrother to Thorn the Third Stone. Now, half dour hand on mother's side and stepbrother
just go with
to
it.
Thorn.
Just go with it.
Dude, role players. Players are weird.
Yes, okay. At Dine's death, he requested that I, from an elite guard, to protect the king's interests by crushing his enemies. This elite guard has a Kinhall website and is a semi-RP. Only semi-RP.
Yeah.
We teach Dwarvish, enjoy elf slapping, poach elf-protected wildlife in Lothlorien, drink excessive ale, and are devoted Ale Association members that await the return of During the Deathless.
Sure.
Sounds fun.
Boy, when they get to a certain quest in the...
Just go with it.
Yeah. Our weekly comment is, what is the spookiest thing you've encountered during this fall festival?
So far, my costume. It was randomly selected from a grab bag. And, well, I had several characters who randomly selected costumes, but that's all I've done with the fall festival so far, so it has to, by nature, be the spookiest thing, right?
That's actually more than I've done with the fall festival because I haven't done it at all.
I mean, it was certainly spookier than the treats on the doorsteps. Suddenly turning into an orc in the housing neighborhood? Yeah.
Oh gosh.
They suddenly turned into an orc?
Well, most of the disguises turn you into things like that, yeah.
Oh, okay, those things. I don't think I did any of those.
They're kind of like the disguises that you get in that one instance where you've got to walk and pretend like you're on official business. Or when you go and you're pretending to be the silent one in Mordor, or like, I mean, you can still tell that you're a hobbit underneath or an elf or whatever, but you get the disguise. And the timer says it lasts 3 hours, but it really lasts, like, as long as it takes you to log out, or 3 hours maybe. We didn't test that part, but if you log out while your timer's still going and you log back in, it's gone.
Even if it's a very short logout?
Even if it's a very short logout to just go get something from another alt, yep. And you'll still look like you're wearing it on your character select screen, which is also slightly creepy or spooky. But yeah, then you log back in and you change back to your normal outfit.
Oh, that's because the character select screen has your status at the time you logged out.
Right. But we had one case where we put it on and then immediately logged out. Like, we put it on, placed the doormat, logged out. We're out for less than 5 minutes, logged back in. It's gone. So then we tried an immediate turnaround, log out, log back in. It was gone.
You really went around testing this.
It was pretty thoroughly tested.
Yes.
Sans the bug tester.
I don't know if it's a bug or not. It might be how it's supposed to work. I'm just telling you, if you think that it's going to last through a short logout, it probably won't.
Hopefully someone will find that as potentially useful. As for my spookiest thing, well, how about going through that wheat maze. It gets spooky trying to get through that maze. And then I heard later on that there are 3 or 5 different versions of that maze, and that they change them daily.
I've heard that. I still haven't been to see it yet.
Yeah, I was in there I did try to get through there, and I think I finally managed to go through there, but yeah, it's at least the version that I went through. It definitely wasn't an easy maze. As for our fan site news, you could watch Agent Brigham do some fall festival quests. And you could watch a bard, bagpipes, and battles with Doug Glendower. And you could watch LOTRO with Mort on the Gladden server. And you can watch The Road Goes Ever On with Gravity. And you can watch Be Bold, Be Wary with Pulu Filgar. And you can watch Balthillion in episode 391, Escape from the Pit. Our screenshot of the week is Ninor of the Lorien server sent an awesome screenshot of Etterfang Foul Mall.
That is a fantastic shot.
It's amazing.
Dragon! It looks so cool.
Yeah.
I want to get there. I want to get there so bad.
Well, it looks like something that can have my Hobbit as an hors d'oeuvre.
Although it's interesting that the UI appears to be turned off, but the PVMP plus plugin buttons are still up at the top of the screen.
Huh. But I do love the facial expression of the dragon. It's very well done. It's amazing. Exactly.
Well, one of the dragons that was in the trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer yet, so that's my excuse.
Oh, you should totally watch the trailer because the trailer is awesome. It shows this dragon breathing fire. Among other things, because it's all about dragons.
Yes.
All about the dragons.
Then let's head into our weekly sales. And Terry, what's for sale this week?
Character slots are on sale! Finally! How long have I been saying we need a character slot sale? 20% off character slots, veteran status, stat packages, and XP boosts. So you can buy new slots and then you can get those characters immediately out of the intro because it's only 80. I mean, it's normally only 100 LOTRO points to get the characters to veteran stats, but 20% off is only 80. So yeah, it's totally worth it. Buy a new slot, get a character to level 5, go to the festival. Boom, done. That's not what I did. I mean, I did the first 2, but I didn't go to the festival. And then the weekly coupon gets you a gold die ×1 with coupon code gold die now through October 25th.
Funny story, Terry. I saw on Twitter this week that once LOTRO announced what was on sale for this coming week, someone actually tagged us on Twitter, like, "Look, guys, they have character slots on sale." It was pretty great.
That's hilarious. Yes, character slots are on sale. That's going to be in my highlights. Moving on.
Let's head into our site news, and we'll begin with Squirrely, who had to deal with a very hungry SSG pillar. No.
I love the graphic he has here.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a rather strange. Yes, this SSG pillar is apparently going through where dragons dwell.
Well, you know, As you do.
As you do. And so therefore this is... I'm not exactly sure. I did not actually go through all this article, so looks like he's complaining about the prices.
I don't know. I didn't realize there was an article until I was doing show notes. I'm sorry. I had a busy week watching children. I'm sorry.
Sorry, are you... My headset cut out.
I did not catch what you just said.
Sorry, my headset's going.
Oh no.
A problem.
Are you on the first section of news or the second section of news?
I am on the SSG pillar.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry. What I was trying to say before my headset cut out, it looks like the article is just what was thought was going to happen with the update that happened and kind of what actually went through and his opinions on what happened with each. So it's kind of just a recap of the update.
Okay. It's like when you have a section called What Went Wrong that's has 9 bullet points in it.
Yep.
And several sub-bullet points.
Well, it is an opinion piece.
Yes.
So.
Well, you got a point there.
And it is very thorough, so if you kind of need like a general overview of what's kind of going on, it's a good article to check out.
And the part way through, like, he's trying to decide, like, is this actually closer to the Siege of Mirkwood or Fire Norian when you try to unpack it? Which I think is interesting, too. Because, like, he does make a point. Like, there's a lot of stuff in this new update that maybe doesn't look like it at first, especially if you haven't been exploring or doing things there.
Yeah. I find it interesting. One of the things he's complaining about is that there's not enough experience to get you from 115 to 120. This is one of those things that I hear a complaint about in every single update, where and I'm wondering, is this something that the non-VIP people are mainly having trouble with? Because usually when I'm going through with my VIP characters, they don't have any trouble getting to cap.
We do have the daily bonus XP.
Right, because I've wondered if that daily bonus XP makes a difference.
That daily bonus XP might make a difference, and we've got the access to perks, too.
Yeah, we have the access to perks, which is a second thing. And a third thing is, at least in my case, is that because of the changes to the difficulty of opponents, I've been running a lot of skirmishes to collect data.
Oh yeah, you'll have no problem if you're running lots of skirmishes finally. That hardly counts.
So therefore, I am a rather difficult data point to work with on this particular case. So I don't know if... And I know that you and Terry, at least on the characters I'm going with, of course, are playing the characters once a week. So therefore, for a few hours, so you'll have the bonus XP for a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I used my perks because why not?
Why not?
But in either case, the article is very thorough, so it's definitely worth a look at.
All right. At least now I see that the What Went Wrong section is actually a point by... is paralleling the what is inside the pack. So therefore, they're giving the points of what was expected, and then the What Went Wrong section. I think it should have been maybe titled What Was There or What Really Happened or something like that rather than What Went Wrong.
But then you couldn't have the awesome caterpillar image in the middle. You know, you got to tie that in.
Well, again, opinion piece.
Well, okay, you got a point there.
I don't know. I know I was complaining a little bit about XP only because I was behind both Sands and Pine Leaf this week. who hit level 116 before I did.
Okay, right. And let me see, because that was not the character that was doing all the skirmishes.
My character did precisely one skirmish and killed 2 other mobs. That happened to be 120 before I got killed by like 3 or 4 of them in that skirmish.
Then let's head into another piece by Squirrel, and that is Isengard, formerly known as the Ox Clan Camp.
Yeah, so this is the overview of the Isengard Instance Cluster.
And I got the impression that this was one of his favorites.
I love this instance cluster, actually. It doesn't scale, so it is level 75. And you run it at level 75 regardless of what level you happen to be.
Right.
I think it also is another instance cluster that has specific mechanics, which is one of the reasons why they haven't gotten around to scaling it, and probably won't, because trying to scale all of the mechanics in it is a whole lot of work. Because there's so much going on.
The one with the walls that are made of fire.
Like, I've done some of this on level with my level 75 group that Sarissa is still waiting for to come back.
Yeah.
So I've experienced some of this as it's meant to be experienced, and then I've done most of the rest of it way over leveled. So you just kind of face roll through it.
I think I still had trouble with the Foundry. Because I keep on getting punted back into the hot walls in there. I think there was one time when we were doing the anniversary and I had to go through the Foundry in order to do some sort of gesture to someone after it or something like this, and I could not get through it, I think, with a level capped character. So it's because of that fire mechanic were in there, which, don't think you're immortal just because you're at level cap. Then let's head into our new player question. And Arendis, what is the question this week?
The question this week is more of an opinion question than a mechanics question. Are there any in-game festivals that you really enjoy, and what sort of, just in general, things do you like about festivals? What are some things that you pass on? Just stuff like that.
I pass on fishing almost always. Almost always. Well Dressed did it for the Summerfest.
I think this year I've been mostly forgetting the festivals.
I think for me it depends on what I'm feeling like and how my computer is doing. Festivals tend to have a lot of people in a small area, which can make them pretty laggy. So if my computer is not behaving the way I would hope it would, or my internet is being used by a lot of people at the same time, I try to avoid the most crowded areas. I enjoy getting new cosmetics, though.
I know, that's the one thing that ever attracts me to it. If I like the cosmetics, then maybe I'll see if I can find something to do there that will get me the points to do it.
And
same thing with the mounts, too, sometimes. Oh, sorry.
Exactly. No, I like the mounts, too, and they tend to be a good way to get the starlit crystals for your allies. I mean, they are bound to character, so like you can't send a lower level alt through to get some and pass them on. But yeah, I mean, especially if there's something you want, then I'll do almost anything in the festivals to get that. I most enjoy the things where I don't have to compete against other people, though.
Yes.
I
Any
agree.
competition stuff, I'll give it a pass, typically. Also, almost everything with a timer will get a pass from me.
Yeah,
And trying to navigate things like the fence walking thing.
Oh, I'll never do that one. Yeah.
I don't generally do the spring maze. I typically avoid the haunted burrow. Like I'll do everything else with Fall Festival except the burrow, because I get lost.
I finally figured out the burrow and the maze. And once I figured out the burrow and the spring maze, then those were pretty fun. But yeah, if there's a ton of people around, I do not want to be lost in a crowd of people, especially if I'm lagging out before I can take 2 steps or port myself out. So, yeah. I mean, layers helps with that too, but I try to avoid getting lagged out someplace where I'm lost or trapped in spider-y stuff or, you know, generally unpleasant situations.
Sometimes it depends on which character I'm in the mood to play too. Like my burglar Sarissa for a long time was doing the treasure hunt just because she wanted all of the treasure-related emotes, and she still needs the treasure horse. But she does have the treasure goat. So I was the only one in Moria, of the group in Moria, that had the goat that was like spilling the gold coins off the back.
That's awesome.
Everybody else had the Thornsall goat.
All right, so I think, did we answer your question then?
Yes, it was just more of a discussion.
Yeah. So therefore, yes, we all have our own little different things that we like to do with the festivals. Some of us prefer the passing bit, yes. Then let's head into our weekend LOTRO. Terry Edwin, what were you up to?
My area lore master completed the last of the Mirkwood skirmishes, so she is finished with volume 2, except for the epilogue, which I probably won't do again. I've never actually completed the epilogue on any of my characters, and I will probably still give it a pass on this one because it involves going back into places that I've already been. And I'm already going to be doing that because starting volume 3 sends you back into places that you've already been.
What I do, actually, for one of the ones in volume 3, for the Grey Hammers, what I do is I always do that at the same time I do the beginning of volume 3.
Yeah, I think I've done that all of once. I usually don't even pick them up. I'm like, oh, this is let's pass. And I also frolicked in the moors on Arkenstone, escorting Cinders' new baby work. We hit all of the points needed to get her good Grams map with completely no interference whatsoever, because that was the night that all of the Freeps were stuck at their home base being harassed by the overpowered defilers. So we're like frolicking through the moors going la 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 la.
Oh, it was so fun.
And it pretty much was a la 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 trip. Like, we didn't end up going to the Hobbits and Warhello, just I didn't want to get in any kind of danger that we might need to get away from until she could get away quickly to Grams with her 1 minute cooldown map. So we just did the explore points on the map. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then I mentioned that I was going to be talking about character slots. So character slots are on sale. Yay! I bought 5 because I had 25, and that meant I had 5 characters per page, and then they decided to show 6 characters per page. So it made my pages uneven. So now I have 5 more slots so that I can have 6 characters per page and have even pages. And then I just was at work today and doing something. I don't remember. It was completely not related to LOTRO, but I happened to think, I don't have a Hobbit Hunter on Landrival. I should make one. So then I was thinking up names for my Hobbit Hunter that I was going to make on Landrival. And so I know this Hobbit Hunter on Landrival whose name is Sans Winda. And if you just take the first part of that name, Sans, it typically means without something. So I thought it would be fun to do a play on that. So the French word for with is avec. So I made a new Hobbit Hunter named Avec Winda.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And she's got the easily lost title, which she's probably running around with. Yeah, and she's level 10.
Can we please get a picture of Avik Winda and Sans Winda standing together with their names showing somewhere?
Absolutely. As soon as I get them in identical outfits, because I know that Sans Winda has a copy of Terry's outfit, and I'm pretty sure my wardrobe has Terry's outfit. So, it's on my list.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome, Terry.
So, Arindis, how was your week?
I have to go after that? How am I going to top that? Oh, goodness. Well, due to real life, I have not been able to play much. I'm still in Moria. Is anyone surprised? I really don't think so. And I mostly just did a lot of mob avoidance in the waterworks, because it seems like every time you turn around, there's one of the glowworms or some sort of lizard or spider in there.
Gosh. Yeah.
So mob avoidance basically translates to jumping off of bridges while mounted. So
I like it.
I would get a giant train of mobs behind me, and because I was mounted, and so I was trying to get through as much of it as I possibly could before having to dismount. So I would get as far as I possibly could, and then I would just kind of launch myself off the side of a bridge. It was great. A couple of them did follow me off of the bridge, but then they would rubber band their way back up. So, if you ever need a way to avoid mobs in the waterworks, just throw yourself off of bridges. It apparently works. So anyway, that was basically my week. Sans, how was your week, besides getting a character semi-named after you?
That's awesome. So earlier this week, I was persuaded to get a hobby horse, and I was really excited about this because I've been wanting one ever since I discovered them. And I rode with Cinders' lore master, her high elf, around on our hobby horses. I don't think there's anything more funny that I've seen recently than a high elf riding a hobby horse. Except maybe a high elf riding a hobby horse being chased by a hobbit riding a hobby horse.
Oh my god! A hobby horse parade.
So we had an epic ride through Bree after getting our. She already had her hobby horse, so after I got my hobby horse, we epically rode from one end of Bree to the other and back. And then we decided that we were going to go and ride it elsewhere, and neither of us had read the description yet. So we're like, okay, we'll start in Felgoth, and we'll ride up to where I'm supposed to be, and we'll just log out for the night. And it'll be epic because these hobby horses don't have very much morale at all. We'll probably be one shot off them multiple times, and we'll have to stop and kill the things, but that's totally fine. It's totally worth it. You'd never see such a sight in your life. And we got to Felgoth, and you're not allowed to ride them there. And we're like, seriously, you snooty elves? So we're like reading the tooltip, and it's like, can ride in most cities and towns. We're like, well, we know you could ride it in Minas Tirith, because that's where I first saw her hobby horse. Okay, where else can you ride these things? So we set off to discover all the places you could ride them. You cannot ride them in Dale. You cannot ride them in Felgoth. You cannot ride them in Erebor. You cannot ride them in Lothlorien. You cannot ride them in Mirkwood, in any of the towns, Thinglehaud, Ostgalad. You cannot ride them in Rivendell, which is kind of weird because I would think that, poor Aragorn, what did he do when he was a boy? But not only that, wouldn't a hobby horse be more safe than a war steed? I can't tell you how many times I've Rivendell bridges in Rivendell on a war steed, but I'm not allowed to mount my hobby horse. You can ride it in Esteldine, but you cannot ride it from Esteldine to the skirmish camp that is part of Esteldine.
Why?
It dismounts you. You can ride it all over the Shire, but you cannot ride it to Oatbarton. I have no idea why they dislike these hobby horses in Oatbarton. They're still hobbits. You cannot ride it around the non-instanced North Cotton Farms. You cannot ride it in Ostgaruth. You cannot ride it in Frerin's Court. You can ride it inside Thorin's Hall, but you can't ride it through the door of Thorin's Hall. You can ride it in Kellendem, and between Kellendem and Dueland, and a little bit past Dueland, but as soon as you get towards Thrassy's Lodge, it dismounts you. Like, as soon as the landscape starts to change. You can ride it in Bree, but you can't ride it out the gates of Bree. You can ride it in Minas Tirith, but you can't ride it out the gates of Minas Tirith. In fact, just as you get beyond the guard's reach, it'll drop you right off. So beware if you are on level riding a hobby horse. Don't ride it out the gates of Minas Tirith if you expect to have any protection. Unless you're prepared for the confusion of being suddenly dismounted. You can ride it in Dol Amroth, but you cannot ride it out of Dol Amroth. I think that was about the extent of our testing it, because it was getting pretty late, and we were getting pretty bummed. Especially when you couldn't ride it in Lothlorien. You can't ride it in the 21st Hall or Moria in general. Which I guess it's probably categorized as a horse, even though it's a toy. I mean, the poor little dwarves, too, though. Yeah, so we had a rather disappointing evening finding all the places you cannot ride a hobby horse. Though I think Dale and Rivendell disturbed me the most, because Dale, we know the kids have toy hobby horses, but you can't ride one there.
Right, so yeah. Quest in Dale
to help prepare one.
And then there was Harwick. Did you try Harwick, did you say?
No, we decided, I think we left off in, I don't remember where we left off. I don't think we left off in Rivendell. It might have been Ostgaruth, where we're just like, you know what, there are so many places you can't ride a hobby horse, this is not even fun anymore, let's just call it here. But, yeah, so riding a hobby horse was a lot of fun, but trying to ride it where we wanted to go was not very much fun.
Oh, and how did you get a hobby horse?
Oh, you can trade for one now. There's somebody by the Boar Fountain in Bree that will happily trade 100 ashes. They're not 1,000. 1,000 ashes. They're not really ashes anymore. 1,000 motes of enchantment. Figments? I don't know. It'll trade the 1,000 things that you get that used to be ash for the new things of Splendor, whatever they are, figments or motes or whatever of Splendor, which you can then use to buy the hobby horse. So that's pretty cool. And it was totally worth getting. I mean, okay, it was kind of almost totally worth getting the hobby horse. Riding it through Bree, it totally felt worth it. Trying to ride it all the other places, I think maybe the hobby horse should cost less or be fixed or something. But yeah, it was... Huh?
Did you try bugging it?
You know, I didn't, because I was already feeling kind of bad for bugging the stable masters. And I didn't want to just be somebody who just constantly submits bug reports, but that was the other thing that I was doing, was arguing futilely with stable masters who randomly refused to be helpful. There was one that I was arguing with. I was like, I'm not even mounted, and I know I've been to all these places. Oh, I am mounted. Okay, fine, let's try this again. Let me gesture rudely at you, because this is getting ridiculous now. I was kind of frustrated trying to find the Falthorn homesteads at that time too, so that did not help the poor stable master, who was probably totally innocent. But yeah, so I've been arguing futilely with stable masters, telling them that I actually know how to get to the places that they say I don't know how to get to. And I went trick-or-treating. And I actually went trick-or-treating to help Cinders' very sad hobbit who could not find treats. And I was feeling... I wanted to help. We already had the disappointing hobby horse day. So I logged in on Gladden, where we don't play very often, so I was maybe like level 15. And I must have been exactly level 15. And I went and I got a house, because I had just enough money to get a house. And I put out a doormat just for my sister so that she could go trick-or-treating at my house too. And then I realized she needed 6 different things to get. I was like, how in the world is this going to even work? I have no idea. This is ridiculous. I can only do, one house. And then somebody in World Chat posted, if you're looking for places to trick-or-treat, come to my neighborhood in the Shire. And we were already in a neighborhood in the Shire. So I told my sister, and we went over, and we trick-or-treated, and we were very happy hobbits. And while we were trick-or-treating, when I went back through the World Chat to find the person so I could send them a tell saying, thank you for telling us that we could trick-or-treat here, because that was great. It was very helpful. I found that there was a Durin's Day celebration on, so I went and did that too, and that was really, really, really cool. I loved all the little touches they put into that. And then I went back to Landerval and fixed all my houses on Landerval to have doormats as well that were different from each other. So hopefully that will prove helpful to some poor soul somewhere. And I admired the new warning signs in Yarnfast while helping the dwarves. I believe we decided they say danger, but yeah, they're pretty helpful as you're approaching them. Beware. As you're approaching them, you can definitely tell that maybe this is not the path to be on, and if you jump over this sign, it may go poorly for you, which was super helpful. If you're running the other direction, it's not necessarily as helpful, but it was still a helpful visual reminder, oh, wait a second, this is not the path I should be on right this second. And I spent most of my time in Yarnfast actively trying to avoid holes and coaching myself, no, not that way, there's a hole in the ground. Go around the hole in the ground. But yeah, that was fun. And then I actually went to the moors twice this week. One time munching on hobbits, and we were surprisingly free to do so on Landerfall. And then on Thursday night on Arkenstone, I was like, oh, I bet I know why. I bet it's because the creeps had the freeps pinned down again. But yeah, it was kind of fun to be to feel kind of powerful. And maybe you could hold your own if you got into a fight for a couple seconds. Yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes. I know it won't last past the newest gear that will come out, but if it's even still a thing now. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So finally, how was your week?
All right, I'll begin that. I was on Thursday while we were pondering these signs. I was furtively looking for a way to translate the sign in there, and that's when I eventually came at that was saying beware, because the letters that they were using it was actually an English word using Dwarven letters.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But as for what I was doing on Sunday, my Sunday's grade group, since it was the first time we met after the update, we said, all right, let's try Tier 3 Skirmish. How about level 117? That was about the average level of the group that we were in, and my character was right at 117. It sounded like a perfect level in which to run these in. We went into there. First, things looked not completely bad yet. Then we met our first lieutenant. Splat!
Ouch.
The lieutenants really really, really hit hard when our old friend, the Frost Grim, decided to explode. Oh boy, did it explode. Whap! Practically, I think wiped out half the party just by that one explosion from the Frost Grim.
Oh, man.
The lieutenants were just brutal in that run. When we decided to, all right, let's do our next one. That was that during Assault on Ringade's Lair, where you had to face as many as 4 lieutenants at a time during the counterattacks.
Right.
So that was really tough on there. We decided, all right, breaching Necromancer's Gate. We went in that time and decided, all right, Tier 2, 115. It's like, we were stressed out after that 117 run, and that went a lot better. Then during the field trip, the group that I was with that week we decided to help some glass blowers in the North Farthing. And finally, my hunter, that's right, my hunter on Creek Hollow helped Bingo take care of a curse that was in the Eerie Acres. And that is actually the thing that I was most looking forward to in this particular festival this time, was to finish up the Bingo Boffin thing, where they had one from last year, which they did, and then to see what the follow-up was. And it was good I did it when I did, because it turned out that on Friday, Corey Olson in his stream, he was talked into doing that quest. And so you could just imagine having Corey Olson trying to do this and looking at everything, trying to figure out the architecture and the like, especially of the new festival area. But they tried to keep him on focus. He therefore finished his stream only about 15 to 20 minutes late. Because he did have to pick up his sons. But that was a really nice follow-up to it, and I really love that particular one. So I recommend that if you like Bingo and like a good ghost story, that should be a very nice one to go to. It is mainly a storyline thing, because it tells a story, one haunted house type of story. And it's a good follow-up to last year, where they told all of those mini stories, and that this is one larger story for the run that goes through there. And you get to experience some Hobbit history. Now let's head to our news beyond LOTRO, where the Antipodean writer has another song. Estelle, King Elisar, High King of Gondor. And this is using the tune of the Islander, is that it?
Yeah, Night Wishes the Islander, which is a really awesome piece of music.
Yeah, so therefore he gave his Middle-earth spin to that piece. And you can see the lyrics in the article, and there is a video where I would presume that it's being sung.
Yes.
We currently have 21 supporters on Patreon, and if you would like to join this illustrious rate of players to help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. And this week, we have a featured comment from Honorian and Arendis. Would you like to read this?
Sure. Enorian wrote, Pine Pants, which was referred to last week, made me burst out laughing. My biggest pet peeve is not being able to give Elvish or Dwarvish names to legendary items or crafted items. What gives? My High Elf lore master couldn't name her pet, and I'm sorry if I butcher this, the Kalpa Kaida, the Elvish word for icicle. I wanted to use Cinderin Aeglos as opposed to Quinian Helen, but I've run into this issue repeatedly when crafting jewelry. Names are important, and it interferes with my fun.
Well, Aeglos, I think, would be a problem because isn't that the name of a famous weapon? Or am I confusing that with something else?
I don't know.
Well,
I think you're right. Though that may or may not be how it's spelled. I'd have to look it up.
Well, there is always that possibility. But I do know that if there is something that is too close to a significant name, they do have a... Yeah, Aeglos is the name of the Spear of Gil-galad.
Right.
Yeah, I could see them filtering that one out. But, yeah.
Though they're also still filtering the non-Elvish needles, so...
Well, there is that.
I'm just suggesting it might be a general filter thing going on, too.
Well, the thing about the needles is because someone thought it sounded too close to a piece of drug paraphernalia.
I guess that kind of makes sense, maybe?
Well, except for the fact that the word is also related to sewing, and tailoring is one of the...
I mean, it's one of the quests that you get is for the hunter, and the Black Book is for a needle, isn't it? I'm pretty sure I went looking for a needle.
Oh, yeah, there is that thing about... I had completely forgotten about that one, yes. So there, what? Yeah, so the needle one, it does sound a little bit strange, I have to admit. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at podcast@LotraPlayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlliance, LotraPlayers @LotraPlayers, Ariandis @Ariandis, Piney Needles, Sandwinda @Sandwinda, and Terry Edwin @TerryEdwin. The Players Alliance has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows at LotraPlayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Polly Mules reminding you to skirmish responsibly.